so we are good to go. So folks that are here today, we got a great crowd. We almost are filling up our entire slots today. So I see some more folks here. See Sue and Nancy, Mark, some other folks that have come in. Another Larry, good to see everybody here. Dion, Datha, good to see you. Cynthia, Akil, good. Okay, so we got some great folks on here. So now that we've kind of got that out of the way, we are going to, let me share with you everybody. Again, my name is Eric Auger. I'll be your host this afternoon. And I'm going to change here something just real quickly right here. Boy, you talk about doing everything on the fly today. That's what we're doing here. And so let's
day and age in which we live.
I'm telling you, this is a wonderful thing to be able to do. I tell you, it's nothing better than to do things as we kind of go on the fly here. So folks, if you've don't know anything about American Business Systems, first of all, you know that every webinar that we do is live, as you can see today. And for those that are learning about American Business Systems, we are about to celebrate 30 years. My goodness, it's amazing that in a few short months, 5.5 more months away, ABS will be turning 30 years old. Folks, we have an established platform. It is created and maintained for us and powered by an organization called Next Gen Healthcare. We'll talk a little bit about that today. We also have all these other different products and services that is included. Everything's included with your business package that you purchase from us here today, or whether you're going to do it today, next week, or in the soon time. But we're always adding things. So even like Bob that joined us, gosh, how long have you been, Bob, since you've been a part of us?
We were in Fort Worth in 2007 for our training.
Okay, wow, 2007.
16 years ago.
Wow. That's amazing. And I just shared that with you because even folks, older guys like Bob and me, anytime that Adam and the crew here add more services, then we're all a part of it. We still get all of that there. Obviously, Patrick and Linda are the founders of American Business Systems. And now Adam, their son, Adam Phillips, is now the CEO. And he and his crew are doing very well. They kind of help leading out and everything. And he is also a member of the editorial board of the magazine called Building and Coding Advantage magazine. He is also the founder of an organization called MIRMA. As you'll see here, we do a lot of things with MIRMA. They are the folks that actually certify you as a certified medical revenue manager, as you can see here. And I think I've got all of my intros out of the way. So Bob, it's you and me, man. We've got the next 55 minutes together. So let me share with everybody on the call today, since we are doing a live webinar and we're doing a live interview with someone who has been a business owner here with American Business Systems, as he said, for a good little while here. This is your opportunity to ask Bob some questions like you've always wanted to ask. Bob, I can already preempt. I know one of the questions that's going to come up is, how did you get your first client? We can certainly talk about all of that and how you went through that. But first, kind of tell us.
For the lady's sake, I just want to let them know I'm a married man, so no questions in that area, please.
No questions. Yeah, same here. So Bob, let's just kind of talk about what did you do prior to coming into as a business owner with American Business? What kind of made you kind of look at this, and then we'll just kind of go through your history here.
Well, I've got a history in managing music stores, toots, flutes, guitars, pianos. Went from that to sports collectibles. I opened one of the first sports collectible shops in America in Phoenix, right here in Phoenix, in 1980.
Wow.
And ran that successfully for 15 years, sold that. I was asked to be a vice president of marketing and sales for Pacific Trading Cards. They, at the time, made baseball and football cards. They were licensed from Major League Baseball and the NFL. And then from there, got into the putting on an event called the National Sports Collectors Convention. It's the largest event of its kind, 30,000 attendees on average. It moves from city to city each year. 75 to 100 celebrity athletes come in to sign autographs.
Yeah.
That was exciting. And then in 2007, I met who is now my wife, Molly. She'd moved from the UK and had been involved in pensions. They call them pension schemes. over there. And I
Right.
said, you can't use that word here. Schemes is a bad word here. But she coming from there, she had been in the business world most of her life and she wanted to do something. And I said, find a business, I'll support you and we'll help you get that off the ground. So she found ABS
Yeah.
online. And so she said, we've got to go to Fort Worth for training, for 5 days of training. I guess that doesn't happen anymore. It's all online.
It is all virtual
It was
now.
a great experience. We got to meet Patrick
Yeah.
and the whole crew, which was a great experience. We were there for 5 days, and I was traveling 100,000 miles a year at the time. Being newlyweds, I saw this as a way for me to get off the road.
Yes.
So it took a few years. My business partners bought me out by the end of 2011, and then we really started. We didn't work our business in earnest until then.
Right.
We pick up a client or two, but nothing major. If you're not hungry, you don't look as hard, right?
Sure.
Now all of a sudden, I'm done with that business, on to the next, and we picked up some really good clients from there on. For some reason, mental health providers are attracted to me, and so we picked up a couple of big clinics there, and it's been fabulous ever since. We've always had a good stable, if you will, of clients, various categories of providers, but. What's nice about it is you'll find that if you do well with your clients,
Yeah.
they'll refer other providers to you, and it just kind of continues to grow in that direction. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
There you go. And it's a great story because there's so often that obviously everybody wants to know how quickly can you get a client and how did you get your first client? And, it's good to talk about life in general because obviously there's a lot of people that come into whether it's ABS or any other entrepreneurial type of business opportunity, franchise, you want to kind of get out of gangbusters right out of the chute. Some can be very successful right at the beginning, like you and your wife. You guys kind of took your time a little bit. You picked up a client here and there. But it's as you will talk about a little bit, following the system of American business systems, it does figure out that you actually can work it and then actually kind of work that. And then you found a niche, like you said, in mental health. And so there is, I'm sure people that are on the call today probably even never thought about that as a potential client, because I think we all think, when we're talking about medicine, it's like we're always thinking either primary care or some cardiologist. That always seems like the two big things that people kind of look at, and They never see the scope of the field of medicine that's out there.
And just so you know, we have also the physical therapist patients. We have chiropractors. I'm drawing a blank here. A nutritionist. We have a number of nutritionists. So they're not all big hospitals, big clinics, but they pay well,
right?
And they got to pay you because they want you to keep billing for them.
Of course, yeah.
So that's an important aspect. But and everybody, I'm fortunate enough. You put me on your list of some of your potential licensees were able to call and ask, get my opinion of ABS.
Sure.
And the one thing I always tell them, if you follow the recipe that ABS teaches you when you have your training, you'll be successful. That's the key. Follow the recipe that you give.
I tell you, you've come from a background of marketing, and you've got your things of how often, and because I had to do the same thing, because we did the same thing, my wife and I, come from a background of sales. I even taught sales, but coming in here, you can't always apply what we've known in the back for marketing/sales and think that it's going to work here. Right.
The best thing that I ever learned from being ABS, every time we got on a webinar where a successful licensee would tell their story like I'm doing now, the number one question seemed to be, how did you get your clients?
Yes.
Get your clients. And you guys kept pounding it into us, BNI, 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 Business Networking International. I'm still a member to this day.
Are you really?
Still a member to this day. And they're like family to me. But if it weren't for them, we would not be in this business today. The training.
All right. So tell us what BNI stands for, and then kind of tell us what that is.
Sure. It's called Business Networking International. They've been around since 1985, basically as long as ABS. And they're the biggest, largest, most successful networking group in the world. They're all over the country, all over the world. They've got, I think, 11,000 chapters right now.
Yeah.
If you belong to a chapter and as a medical biller, that chapter can no longer accept any more medical billers. If you're a chiropractor, that's the only chiropractor they can accept. If you're a plumber, no matter
Right.
what category of business you're in, it's all categories. You're the only one. And everybody in that chapter is looking for clients for you as you are for them. And it works. It just works. And if you go and you're consistently go and you follow same thing, follow their recipe,
Yep.
you're going to find clients. Because as you know, that's the toughest part, getting clients.
Absolutely. And always the first one is always the most difficult.
Oh, yeah.
It's the most
Yeah.
challenging because, psychologically you're under pressure. From a business owner already, you've invested, you've invested your hard-earned money, whether you saved it or whether you earned it, or, however you came into play in this capital. And now you're thinking, okay, well, I've invested. Now I better be pumping this well, and I better be getting some water out of this well pretty quickly because I'm pretty thirsty. Now, in your case, you had a little bit of cushion because you were coming out of one, and you had a little bit of like revenue that probably coming in from the sale of your past business.
Right.
And as you said, you didn't really turn on the juices, so to say, until you kind of got hungry a little bit there. So that's really important because, again, from a psychological standpoint, again, I think most business owners, when they do get started with any business opportunity, they feel like there's a failure if they don't have a client within their first 30 days. And I think that's cheating yourself because you're not letting the system work a little bit.
It really is. And of the potential licensees I've spoken to, I think you call them, what do you call them, owners now, don't you?
Yeah, business owners. Yeah. Yeah.
I told you I go way back. I totally lost my train of thought. What were we saying?
We were talking about, shortchanging yourself, or, you're shooting yourself in the foot, so to say, if you're thinking to get a client in the first 30 days.
Yeah. So I've spoken to potential owners that they came from a medical background. They already had some individuals in mind that they were going to target, whether it be a brother-in-law, a friend, or just former work associates. Others come from construction.
Yes.
Really, I mean, the people that come from a medical background probably have a distinct advantage. But again, follow the recipe and you'll do fine. You don't have to be a super salesman to run this business. You just need to be organized and focused.
There you go.
And take advantage of ABS. I don't know how many times we've contacted your office seeking some help or assistance on various things we didn't know a thing about.
Yeah. And that's a good point about the support that's there. And again, you had a one-time investment with you. And outside of that, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you paid ABS another cent, right?
No.
Yeah. See, so it's all there, and you got it. And obviously, if there's any other services come about, you get those. You've got lifetime of support. So Bob's a living proof here that, you guys, for those that are looking for a business opportunity, unlike some other business opportunities and franchises out there, you only might get a limited amount of support. And then after 2 years support or whatever, you got to pay more to look at that. Someone's just written in here. Tina says, of course, how did you get your first client? And did a certain business, it's not American Business System that she typed in here, but did they help you get this client? And so it's kind of funny that they actually used the competitor's name here instead of American Business System. She must be looking at both.
I didn't know you had any competition.
Well, there is one out there, but they don't have all the services that we have, and certainly they don't have the lifetime of support out there. But
our first client came through BNI.
Yeah.
Real simple. A member of my chapter knew a massage clinic. It didn't pay a whole lot, but that was our first client. And it let us get our feet wet. It wasn't that challenging. And we picked up some more massage clinics after that. And then came the mental health, physical therapists. We even did some in-home health services. That was complicated. In fact, you gave us a referral for a woman in Albuquerque who was an expert in that area. And she guided us and directed us in that. So again, you guys were there to support us.
my goodness, that goes back some years there. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, that's awesome. Tina does say, sorry, she meant ABS, and she's got a little smiley face there. So I thought that's what you were looking for, Tina. But yeah, so Larry's asking this. I've seen Larry on here a couple of times. He says, did Bob say he lives in Phoenix? So apparently Larry kind of lives maybe in that Phoenix area as well. So you're in Phoenix.
I'm in the town of Goodyear.
Okay.
And there's only been a few times in the 16 years I've been in this business where I've run into another ABS licensee.
Yeah.
And maybe 2 or 3 times. They're all a little concerned because we're right in the same region. There is so much business to go around. I mean, don't even. Is. And if you join a BNI chapter as a medical biller, you may be the only one in the whole Phoenix area. You've got the whole market to yourself. So yeah. I'm in Goodyear. I grew up in Mesa, moved to Seattle 27 years ago. We escaped there last January 2021, and we're back here, and we're just loving the desert. And we moved our business here, and most of our clients didn't even know we moved. We'd never met half of our clients because they came about through referrals. So there you have it.
I want to explore that a little bit more, but Larry just says, hey, he lives in Gilbert. So
I lived in Gilbert for many years, a great town.
Yeah, I bet you this guy Larry may want to reach out to you if he hasn't already talked with you already. So
happy to.
Yeah, so yeah, this is awesome. So that's great. Like I said, I want to kind of explore that whole thing about what you said, that you don't have clients necessarily in the Phoenix area. So probably how did you get those? Did you kind of get them? I guess if you lived in Seattle, were they out of that area, or are they just kind of all over the place?
Most of them are in the Seattle area, and outside of Seattle area. We've had some in LA, we've had some in Kansas City, Portland, and by the way, there is attrition. It does happen. You're going to lose clients. It just happens. They either close, move, whatever it might be. But so no, again, not having met many of our clients, if they ask where we're living, we let them know, and they don't bat an eye because everything's digital, everything's electronic. Right. And so from time to time, we'll have a Zoom meeting like we are now. When we lived in the Seattle area, again, I probably visited 1 or 2 clients on a regular basis because that's what they wanted.
Sure.
But we didn't lose them when we moved here. So that's the nice thing. It's a very portable business.
That's good to hear, because some people, after they kind of get their, like you did, after they got a few clients and they've kind of got the cash flow going, it may give them an opportunity to do what you did, to be able to move to a different part of the country. It could maybe even get them closer to family if they want to get closer to their moms or dads or grandkids or whatever, or just in the reverse, they may want to get away from them, I guess. So
it's also good for vacations. We're going to go back to Seattle for a couple of weeks in August. We'll just take our laptops with us and continue to do our work there.
Yeah. So Majid is asking, again, you mentioned earlier about getting your first client. So how long did it kind of take you to get that one after you've gone through the training? And we'll talk a little bit about how training was with you versus how it is now. But so
I know there's a lot of focus on the first client. Can I just say, everyone's situation is different. We really weren't working hard to get our first client. And when we did, it might have been a year after we were in the business because we really didn't need a client at the time because my other business was still up and running and operating. So again, until 2011 came along, we'd been a licensee since 2007. We really didn't start getting clients in earnest.
Right.
So I know that may not be the answer you wanted to hear, but it's real. But you know what? We're successful today.
Yes.
We're still growing our business, and we're really pleased with what we're doing.
I think, to me, Bob, I love the transparency that our business owners like yourself share on these webinars. Some wanted to, like I said, they wanted to get out, and some of them got their clients pretty quickly. Some like you, really maybe not been working it as hard as you probably could have, and how but you did it in your time frame. Right. That's the thing. And so if you're doing it in your time frame, it kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off, and which kind of leads into that if you did it that way, as you're saying, some people could still be working their current work and their jobs, and then still, on the other hand, kind of do a little side hustle and start getting, like you said, your first client, I believe, was a massage therapist, and they kind of grow it from there. I mean, some people might think of, again, I think you're giving people today a little bit different look at the different types of medicine that's out there. So to kind of get it, let's get a little technical. So as long as a provider, a medical provider, bills on the CMS 1500 form, you can do their billing.
Yeah, and only one other is the in-home healthcare. That was entirely different. That was the one, the licensee in Albuquerque. That's a funky form, but we figured it out. But yeah, no, if anyone that's filing insurance claims, we can help them out.
There you go.
And by the way, if they have their own system that they're using, they don't want to use the one that we're suggesting. Once you've learned one, you can learn them all.
Of course.
So you can help any provider with any system that they're using. Hopefully they're using ours.
Well, that kind of goes with another question that Roland has here. How many systems demos did you do to prospects per week or per month when you got started? And how does that compare to how many demos you do now? So obviously, Bob, I don't know when we started doing demonstrations for our licensees at that time. I think we were doing it back in 2007, but
we did it on our own. I remember going into neurosurgeon's office, and my wife, who's Scottish, charms the heck out of people with that accent.
I bet.
So that was our first demo, and we did it solo. But it was set up, as I recall, in such an easy fashion to follow, and for the provider to understand. And every time we did a demo, with rare exceptions, we got the client.
Yeah,
and that's really what it boils down to. If you're prepared.
Yeah,
you tell them what they need to know, not what they want to know, what they need to know. You're going to get the client.
Which again kind of goes back to what you said earlier. Work the system as ABS says, because you're going to end up doing that practice analysis. Right. Once you've got that practice analysis done, you're basically discovering what's going on with that doctor's office there. And instead of trying to sell them something that they may not want, you got to find the doctor's pain point. And that's what that practice analysis does.
And that was one of the best things. That was one of the, sorry to interrupt you. That was one of the best things that we brought back from our training. We use that to this day because it's pure math.
Yes.
It tells you how many clients have, what they make per client, and how many clients they see in a week and a month. And it gives you an idea of what their volume is, because that's its business.
Yeah.
You know what their volume is, and then it gives you the information you need to make a proposal.
And I've said when we American Business Systems will do the demos, if the business owner has done their due diligence, they've met with the doctor, they've done their practice analysis, they bring that to the table, we get them to the demo, we're closing about 50% of those, which, in the world of sales and marketing, that's a home run just about every single time. So
it really is. That's well said. Well done.
But it's what's done prior to. I mean, so not everybody gets to that point because, again, I feel is that people kind of it's that paralysis by analysis. They're thinking way too much about how this is and just kind of let it flow. That's what it sounded like with you. You just kind of let it flow in your life. It became part of your life, whether you were doing it through BNI and then how things kind of came through there with BNI. Because what I've been teaching too, Bob, is I think there are so many. Well, it gets back to the old adage: people do business with people they know, like, and trust. We can't get away from that.
Right.
And I think what happens is that somebody comes into a business like American Business Systems, they see the value of doing medical billing, and all of a sudden they go, I got through training and I'm out here a couple of weeks and I'm not getting any traction. I think the failure is not necessarily again on ABS's point, but you're limiting yourself when you're not getting known out in the community. So whether you're doing it through BNI or with a Chamber of Commerce,
yes,
or through other meetup groups that you can get out there, leverage yourself through other business owners that are out there possibly servicing doctors as well.
And that's a great point. So I've forgotten this. It's been so long because we're not beating the bushes for clients like we used to.
Sure.
But I used to go to chamber meetings, chamber socials, any event where I could touch flesh, if you will.
Yeah.
Because I do believe in the adage that the more people you have, the more hands you shake, the greater opportunities you're going to have to grow your business. And you're right, when you're first getting started, you got to get out and meet people. And I'm not talking about knocking on doors.
Yes.
With a group like BNI and going to the chamber and other functions, you're not going to need to do that. I did it before we finally said, okay, we got to join BNI.
Yes.
That's brutal. And I don't think we picked up one client from knocking on doors. And I'm really good.
Okay, so everybody that's on the call, take a deep breath. You just heard what Bob just said. We're not going to teach you to go out there and knock doors for doctors, because that can get brutal. It can get very brutal.
I know. Look, Big Bertha at the front gate is not going to let you in.
She's correct.
She's guarding that gate so that to protect the doctor from people like us, frankly.
Exactly. And and since then, since you were here, Bob, again, my memory fails me here, but I don't know if we had the book, the New Thriving Practice through New Thriving Medical Practice that Bob and Dr. Vicki Rackner produced. Okay, so you had that.
Yeah, we got it years later, a few years later. Yes,
yeah.
And we gave that out to prospective clients. Yes.
Yeah, and how that opens up the doors. But again, it's the legwork that you're doing with what you're doing within your community or in your particular area. And I bet you if we challenged everybody that's on the call today, because we've got a big crowd today, if you were just to go through your particular area, whether you live in the Phoenix area or the Dallas-Fort Worth area or Chicago or wherever you're at right now, even in your smaller towns, you're going to find some type of BNI, or you're going to find some type of chamber of commerce.
Yes.
And I would recommend that a lot of people ask us on these webinars, Bob, what can I do right now to kind of test the waters? Go to these meetings.
Yeah.
Because I think with BNI, you can attend, because that one costs a little bit.
It does.
But I think you can attend one or two of them for free.
Two, and that's per chapter. And if there's like in Phoenix, there's 60 something chapters.
Okay.
If I want a member, I could visit all of them at least twice within a year. So although I don't recommend that, I mean, you're not going to really get to know people. And people wonder why isn't he joining? But at least you can figure out which chapter suits you the best. And the same chambers, there's probably as many chambers in the Phoenix metropolitan area that I could do the same thing.
And I'm looking at the questions here, and Raphael's asking the question, and I'm gonna answer your question prior to reading your question, Raphael. I think you've already gotten the answer. Raphael's asking, what are the challenges for someone who is not from a sales and marketing background? I think we just said it. Get out there and go meet people, and tell them that either A, you're about to start a brand new medical billing business in your area. And you're wanting to meet some like-minded people. That's okay to say.
Sure. It's honest.
Yeah, because you're really you're trying to figure out how to open up one, and is this the right particular area? And then you're going to find out, I think, once you start telling people that and you explain to them, a lot of you have been on enough of these webinars, you already kind of know what to ask. I kind of give away the secrets so often on these webinars already. You already kind of know questions to ask, like, do you know if any doctors struggling with their billing? Obviously you're going to find some people who go, oh gosh, yeah, my next door neighbor who is a brain surgeon can't get anything paid, or you've got somebody who's in Bob's case, mental health, and they're struggling with their cash flow and revenue, and coming out of COVID, they're still trying to get their traction on the ground there. So that's pretty. Bob and I are just talking with everybody on today as though we're trying to teach you and train you what you need to go do to become a successful business owner.
And if you go to one of those events, practice a 30-second elevator speech about what you do and get it down. And you'll feel more comfortable when you go to the meeting. Look, for me, I've never met a microphone I didn't like. That's not the norm. That's not the norm. And I get that. My wife is not like me. So if she's going to have to speak somewhere, she's prepared. And that's what I recommend. Dress professionally. You have to wear a suit and tie, but dress professionally and have your elevator speech down. And that you'll feel far less nervous when you go to these meetings.
So let's kind of, I'm not dumbing this down, but let's talk about that real quickly. What is an elevator speech? You might have some folks on here who may not have a sales and marketing background. Tell us what an elevator speech is, and how would you do one if you were to do one for us right now?
Do you know anyone that owns a business and they're taking credit card? I'm sorry, we also do credit card processing, beg your pardon, which we also learned through ABS.
Yeah.
That was the connection that Patrick put us in front of. You just simply ask, any doctors that aren't happy with their biller, because we can help turn things around. We can not only save them money, get them their money faster, but take the stress out of the office and take it away from you so that you can go on and do the things you want to do, whether it's taking care of patients or spend some time out on the golf course.
That's an elevator pitch, everybody. Just as simple as that, This is being recorded, so if you didn't catch it, you can go back in the next couple of days.
Can I go back and edit it? Can I?
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. Another question that's come in, James, it says, do you, at this point, do you have any employees, or is this just you and your wife doing the running the business?
Well, one time we did. When we had a number of employees. We had quite a few in the Seattle area. We even had one that worked for us out of Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
It became stressful for my wife. And so we actually fired a couple of clients. That you don't do that very often. A quick aside, Patrick in our training always told us, Patrick Phillips always told us, don't bid too low when you're hungry for a client. And this was it was a mental health clinic. They had 2 of them that we took over eventually. We bid too low. And on top of that, nice people, but really cheap.
Yep.
And it was so stressful. Finally, we just said, we're going to have to resign the account. And so we brought most everything in-house. And you know what? No regrets. Our income is back where it was. It's far more manageable. And we don't charge anybody anymore. When you take on a new client, it's a minimum 8% on the allowed amount, whatever the insurance company allows. And that's profitable.
All right. So everybody's always asking, what do I charge? And I always say between 6 and 9%. And so it's always based upon the specialist in that particular area. I always kind of have a rule of thumb like this. I take like a chiropractor. A chiropractor is going to see a lot of patients, but their reimbursement is going to be a little bit lower. So I may charge them a higher rate. Maybe that 8%. I may even go as high as 9% because I'm having to do a lot of work to catch the money. Right. On the other side, if I do get a cardiologist who's not seeing as many patients, their reimbursements are higher. I may adjust that down a little bit, but that's what you're going to learn from support,
exactly,
from training, and we're going to help you find that sweet spot of what you are going to charge. So that was a beautiful way of talking about that. Let me see what another question we have. Datha's asking, while doing the trainings, has there been times where you may need to have some time extended for any reasons? While doing the training.
In other words, go back for further education. You think that's what he means?
Yeah, probably. So yeah, we'll take it that way.
Well, I know when we did the live training, we were invited back for a fee, of course. So you don't do it for free. This is your business. We were invited back for more training if we wanted to. Unfortunately, we didn't need to do that. You may still offer that online. I don't know. But keep in mind, too, I get calls from existing licensee business owners.
Yep.
Who you referred us to that are struggling in a particular area and want to know if we could help them or give them some advice. So rely on ABS to put you in touch with other like-minded owners so that you can resolve some issues that you might be dealing with.
You bet. And really, if you need some extra training, remember, folks, we don't charge anybody a franchise fees. We're a business opportunity. So there's no continual thing that you're having to pay us. We used to, as Bob said, when we had live training, we had to, if somebody wanted to come back through training, we didn't mind them coming back through, but we did charge them a small amount because we had to pay for food and we had to do some other things that were like that, just to cover our particular cost on things like that. But that's no longer because we do everything online. So if you feel like you need a refresher course on something, you get back with support. They'll take you through that at no additional fees. And like Bob says, if you're working with a potentially brand new type of client, maybe a specialist or something that you need, we are going to put you in touch with another business owner / licensee that may be doing that type of billing. So if anybody's on the call today and you're in some location and you've heard Bob already, and that potential client is mental health, hey, we're going to put you in touch with Bob. Bob's going to kind of tell you what to look for and how to price it and get all of that and help you close the deal as well. So that's the good thing about what we do. We kind of share. We're always kind of paying it forward. That was one of the things Patrick always said at those live trainings is find people who you can help, and you will become more successful.
That's that's the giver's gain mentality, or that's the BNI mentality, giver's gain.
Yeah.
Same, right?
Yep.
You give and it'll come back.
Yeah. Bob, I've been getting these types of these questions over the last 2 months, and it's all have to do with AI. So, in fairness, I'm asking everybody's question just as live as we get. I have a question here. With the advent of AI and technology advances, with this business model work in years ahead, curious, there's a lot of buzz that many tech jobs will be lost to, obviously, AI, which is artificial intelligence. Do you ever foresee, in what you've been learning and you've been doing over the last years that you have, do you see AI taking over medical billing?
I don't see how it's possible. Now, at one time, somebody said the automobile would never work either, an airplane would never fly. But at this stage in our history, I don't see it happening. You can certainly make better and smarter software, I suppose, to be more astute at making sure that a claim doesn't get out. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But you get out, and they're not perfect. And I think even AI could make some mistakes. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Very good. Ann Keat, I hope I said your name properly, says, hi, Bob, just wanted to ask, does outsourcing medical billing companies are you as a medical billing company facing any issues right now because of outsourcing it to you?
We get offers all the time for us to outsource to other groups. Sadly, most of them are out of the country. And I'm not about to trust my business to someone outside of the country, but that's been my only experience with outsourcing. We haven't outsourced anything. We're pretty hands-on.
Good. To times where you may need to have some time extended. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think we answered her question there. Okay. So Nancy's asking, do business owners, like for American Business Systems, need to keep their work to a limited or specific geographical area?
Nope, not at all. As I said, we've had clients in California, Oregon, Kansas. I'm keep waiting for that one client to show up in Maui, but that hasn't happened yet. But anywhere in the United States, you can have a client. Yeah, that's what's cool. That's very cool. And you don't need to be right in front of them all the time.
Right. So are most of your clients, that you're kind of on the West Coast, are most of your clients kind of in that area, or do you have some in the central area, central time
nothing
zone?
In the central right now. No, we had a small clinic that the owner retired back in Kansas, but it worked fine. We, between fax and email and phone call, we did just fine.
Larry's asking the question. I think you kind of addressed it a little bit earlier. So are you using any other billing systems other than iClaim?
If we do, but what we use is what the client already has and they insist on keeping. Yeah. Sometimes clients don't want to make a change. They're happy with the system. They're just not happy with who's working it for them.
Correct.
We try to be flexible because there's still money to be made.
Yeah. Whether you're using ours, whether you're using theirs, what it does, Larry, and for those that are listening in, iClaim is there for you to go in and say, I've got my own product. I've got my own software. I'm accustomed to my own software. And if the doctor says, you know what, I like what it is, and I can see the benefit of it, but I need to get money and cash flow right now. I'm already losing right now. Right. So if you can help me with my system, then I may change over a little bit later. And there's been many doctors that have done that. So we've had that happen. In fact, we recommended, once we got them caught up and got their bills paid, they said, you know what, and they were paying a lot for that system. Yeah, more than they needed to. So we've had some appreciative clients as a result of that. Yeah, you bet. Larry's asking again, if you do business in other states, are you required to pay taxes in each of those states? That's a great question. And every state's different, and you should check with your accountant or CPA on that. Yep. If you're in California or Pennsylvania, because from my sports collectibles world, when you put on events there, every exhibitor had to fill out a tax form and pay sales tax for that event when they were there. So every state is different. So check with the municipality you're going to be dealing with. There you go. Lisa's asking, or says, I've been coding and billing for 19 years. I'm curious to know if you need to hire an attorney to write up a contract for your physicians. My friend had to close her medical billing due to a physician not wanting to pay the fee. So let's kind of talk about that, because with ABS, you know that you have all of your agreements all written out. So Bob, have you ever had to take our agreements that we've had and tweak them, or?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead and talk
Sure.
about that.
Because times change, things change, and we have to insert various certain language, like if they've got a certain system that they're using, we address that in the agreement.
Okay.
Our fees vary, so that has to be changed. The number of things that you're going to want to tweak and change. But we still use your template, the one that you gave us in 2007.
Okay,
so there
good.
you go. It's just, but we tweak it.
Yeah. And then she's asking, or I guess she says she had a friend that closed her business down, medical billing, because the physician's not wanting to pay the fee. Have you ever had anything issue like that where you had to fire a doctor because they wouldn't pay you?
We came close a couple of times that they've always paid. And we didn't answer the question about getting an attorney to look at the agreement. I've never had to do that. You need to be comfortable if you think you need an attorney to look at it. But I think once they've looked at the template that you're going to give them, they won't need to look at it any further.
Yeah.
They'll make their suggestions, their edits, whatever. And usually, not always, but usually our client will ask us to sign a HIPAA form to make sure that we remain HIPAA compliant.
Yeah.
And we hold them harmless, but our agreement says the same thing. I wouldn't overthink it, but I'm not an attorney. So that's, if you're not comfortable with you're more comfortable having an attorney take a look at it, then I would do that.
Absolutely. Now, Nancy, I didn't see your name earlier, so you may have kind of come in a little bit later, and I'm reading your question, and I think Bob's already answered this. But she's asking, is there a certification required to do this work? If no, do clients prefer a certified medical biller? You want to answer that one, Bob?
I've never had a client ask that. They might ask where we got our training. We brag about American Business Systems. That's where we got our training. But no, we've never had to present any kind of certification. And by the way, there's nothing required by law, at least in the 2 states we've been working on, to do anything like that. And I don't think that exists in any state that I'm aware of.
Yeah, Nancy, if you missed it, Bob sold musical instruments at one point. Then he sold sporting cards, like baseball cards and stuff. Much bigger than just that. But so prior to getting this, you didn't have any medical background.
None whatsoever. Only on the dates I went on when I was single, but that's another story.
Okay. Ankit is asking, hi, Bob, what are your thoughts about automated eligibility in the verification process? We just came across of the platform where they do eligibility and verification using AI. So I'm going to kind of preempt that a little bit.
Sure.
So in our system, Ankit, we got with the iClaim billing platform that we have, inside of it, it already has our own clearinghouse. So we're able to do eligibility and verification inside of our system. And this was way before AI has ever been there. That's one of the selling benefits of us talking to the doctors and doing the demos utilizing iClaim. Now, I'm sure as time goes on, artificial intelligence will kind of do that. But I think, Bob, we've kind of already talked about that there may be some great software out there that we don't know about, but it doesn't prevent American Business Systems to maybe even have that type of service even here in the future for our business owners.
True. And what I've got, by the way, there are so many systems that now will do just that, check on benefits and eligibility.
Yeah.
But you'll find that you might be a Blue Cross Blue Shield patient that you're dealing with, but the plan that person has may be entirely different from another Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. If
Absolutely.
they're a group plan, they all vary. And so I usually take advantage of if I can get automated benefits and eligibility, but sometimes I can't get the information I need. Got to pick up my best friend, the phone, and find out directly.
So you still have to use the old telephone to call and get verification sometimes.
From time to time. Mostly we use it to follow up on claims that were denied. And mostly they're wrong, we're not. Or there's been an error, sticky finger, something, it's wrong data was put in the claim. That happens. But that's where we spend the most amount of our time, is on the phone with insurance companies. I don't want to disillusion anybody, but that's part of the business.
All right, so there's not any other questions that have come in just yet. So I'm going to there just one just came in. I'll save that one. I'm going to ask you, how is your work-life balance right now with the amount of clients that you have?
Well, moving to Arizona helped. Don't ask me why, but it has. But we can take a weekend off if we want to. We're taking a week off, as I said, a couple weeks off in August. Take our laptops with us so we can keep up. But we live a good life. We're able to knock off early if we need to. We can work on a weekend, and we do when needed. So we have fun playing, and I wouldn't say we have fun working, but we enjoy our work.
Sure. Yeah. Dave is asking, I may be showing my age, but AI seems to be taking over a lot. I'm sticking to my research myself because computers make errors too. So yeah, I honestly, I'm gonna give you my take on this, and this is being recorded. I think AI is still in its infancy. I think there's a lot of great things that are happening with AI. I think, however, in the medical field, especially dealing with reimbursements right now, I still don't see that in the next 5-10 years that it would be what people might think completely automated. I don't think that's going to get there. It's the same thing with people who say, are we ever going to go to a one healthcare system like just Medicare and there's no other thing out there? Folks, you got to remember that you got Blue Cross out there, Aetna out there, United Healthcare out there, all these major healthcare insurance companies out there that make millions, if not billions of dollars in healthcare. And they've got their lobbyists in Congress. They're not going anywhere. So I don't think we'll ever get to a single payer system here in the United States. I think we still have that freedom. I still think that will still remain there. Obviously, if we wanted to, we could have always gone to just Medicare. And I think it's going to be the same thing with AI. I think there's going to be some advantages that are going to be well fine with AI, but on the other hand, I think we're not going to find too many advantages that a human being can't do what Bob and what we've been able to do in the past, and a lot of our successful business owners currently. So I think, let's kind of put a cap. It's not that I don't want you to ask me any other questions about AI, because certainly that's out there. So feel free to ask, but I think we're still pretty in a lot of infancy in that area.
And if I may just say one thing,
yeah, please.
If anyone's going to start testing the waters on this, it's going to be Medicare.
Yes,
they lead the way, and they may try something, and then the other insurance companies will follow. But and I've heard not even the slightest rumbling that Medicare is looking at doing something like that.
Good
and
point.
We work with them too.
Good, yeah, good point. I think that was a wise thing to say. I appreciate you saying that.
You bet.
Tina's asking, what's a good number of clients to hold a successful medical billing practice? What do you feel like
Everybody's different. Everybody's different. Those that are doing it part-time, and again, it depends on the amount of the volume that those providers are doing. If you've got providers that are doing $20,000, $30,000 a month, and you're charging them 8%, and you've got 5 clients, it's not a bad income.
Yeah.
You may not be happy with that, but it all boils down to, I think you look at what you want to make and you build the number of clients you want around that. And that's really the safest way to go.
Yeah, I think you're right. Everybody's different. Everybody knows what they want to make. I think I think for a lot of brand new entrepreneurs out there, you think, oh, if I'm not making $1 million out of this in 5 years, I'm a failure. That's wrong. I think what you need to find out, as I asked Bob just a moment ago, how is his work-life balance? That's where you want to get to. It's almost like you want to work as though that you're retired. That's the lifestyle.
That really is it. Yes, perfectly said, Eric. Perfectly said.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to go, hey, I make enough money, I'm doing this on my own, it's a kind of a generated cash flow. If I want to take off early, I can take off early. If I want to go to the doctor today or the dentist, I can. Like you said, I want to take a week off, I can just take my stuff with me. I mean, that's the way I like to look at it.
Well, my wife and I work this together. I mean, I've got my office, we work from home. I've got my office in one room, she's got hers in another. And we've done this together for 16 years and we're still happily married.
That's a good thing to hear. That is a good thing to hear. We've got about 3 more minutes with you, and then I got 5 minutes kind of a wrap up here. This hour has gone by pretty quickly.
It always does.
You've been superb, Bob. I love interviewing you.
Please stop.
All right, so everybody, this is your last minute it's kind of like, we're about to close shop here. Any last minute questions, get them in now so that we make sure. Okay, so Dave is asking, I would stick to calling Bob or you, or doing the research myself, like double checking my work before it's complete. Thank you, Bob. So she's just saying thank you. I appreciate that. So
Well, my pleasure. By the way, I'm getting a lot of calls from prospective licensees lately. So you guys are killing it right now. It appears very busy. Glad to see.
Yeah, I think it is. It's really kind of picked up since COVID. I think people kind of learned a lesson through COVID because, obviously the people that succeeded through COVID was the ones that were actually had something that they work from home with. And so you didn't have to worry about, jumping through all the hoops to try to make sure that you had the right vaccine, or whether, whatever you're going to do there. And there was a lot of that kind of, it was enough there to make people a little uncomfortable to say, hey, I might want to change what I do.
Yeah.
Tina's asking, Bob, did you write a medical billing book or anything?
Kind of, sort of. The book that Vicki Ratner, I think that was the one.
Yeah.
Patrick, this is pretty cool. Good marketing. If we ordered X amount, he would have we would be credited with having written the forward.
Yep. We still do that. You bet.
So that still exists. That was a good play. Good call.
Yeah.
So that's my only extent of writing.
Yeah. So as I predicted, Larry, that lives in the Gilbert area, wants to talk with you. So Larry, what I'm going to tell you to do is get with your business coach that you're working with here, get that scheduled through them, and I'm sure Bob will take your call.
Right. I prefer to schedule it, Larry. So maybe over the weekend, that would be great.
Yep, that sounds good. Tina says, thank you. Great presentation. Nancy, I'll answer your question here towards the end. Man, what a great interview.
It went fast. Thank you so much, Eric. I enjoyed doing this. I'm a big believer in ABS.
Thank you so much, Bob. I'm going to wrap up here with some last minute questions, and then I appreciate you doing
I got to jump on, so I'll say adieu and thank you. And good luck to everybody in the audience.
Very good. Thanks, Bob. Have a great one.
You do the same. Bye now.
Bye-bye. So Nancy's asking the question here. She was just asking what is the cost? It's $28,990, so it's just under $30,000. Everything that we've shared with you so far, all of the services, the support that goes along with it, that's a continual support. You never, ever, ever, ever have to pay American Business Systems ever another penny for the services or the support that you get. So as you heard from Bob today, it was a fast-paced hour. We got a lot in. I appreciate Bob being able to be on here. I was kind of a little nervous there. I didn't know if he was going to show up or not, but he did. And I was so happy that he did. So because the webinar I was going to do in his place, I'm actually going to do it next week. So there's going to be some great information there. So Nancy, it's just under 30,000. So get with your business coach and we'll kind of share some of that. Akil says, thank you so much. Akil says this was very informative information. So I appreciate that with everybody. And folks, as we kind of wrap this up, one of the things that we've not changed, even whenever Bob was coming, because remember, folks, we used to have this training individually every single month. And I think we changed it to every 6 weeks or so. There was a live training that we did here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so people would have to fly in. We spent 5 days live training together. At the end of the 5 days, though, somebody like Bob had the opportunity to say, hey, I want my money back. Well, we've extended it. And so we've actually made this better, even better than what Bob had at the time. So now you've got 30 days to make your decision. You have a 30-day money back guarantee. So after you've completed your agreement, you've funded your investment for yourself, and you go through the training. Now the training is going to take you probably 10 days to 2 weeks. It's 10 sessions at 90 minutes at each of those sessions. You're going to have homework to do in the middle. A lot of what Bob has talked about going into a BNI or some type of networking, or at least some chamber of commerce or something like that. You're going to practice that while you're doing your training. And you're going to find out how to create your elevator speech and start practicing it. And so you're going to go through all of this different type of training. And who knows, by the end of the training, you may not already have a prospective client out there already. But still, when you get through with those 10 trainings, even if you just did 10 straight in a row every day, that still gives you 20 days left to ask for your money back. There is no other franchise out there. There's no other business opportunity out there that would even dare to do what we've asked for. And why is that? Because again, American Business Systems is not just trying to figure out how many licensees or licenses that we can sell out there in a year's time. Our success is because the people like Bob and his success and others out there that have been successful, and that's what makes us successful. So we want to make sure that we, again, pay that forward to you, that if you don't feel like at the end of that training you don't feel like you're going to be successful, you've got the opportunity to get your money back. And so that's what that's why that's there. For those, again, that again, you're maybe your first time, you may not understand everything you need to kind of do next steps. I'm going to share those with you. James says, thank you, Eric. Wonderful webinar. Bob is a funny guy. And guys, listen, everybody that's on here today, if Bob's offering to chat with him one-on-one. So if you're looking to try to get started here, this is a perfect opportunity to chat with Bob. Download the research guide. Again, these are the steps that Bob took. He did the same thing that I'm telling you. It's a very simple 6-step process here. Do your due diligence. Make sure that you go back through other webinars. We've got a ton of them in the past. There's not a day that we miss. We did one the day after the 4th of July. And we've done things where it's right in the middle of a holiday, and there's just none that we ever miss. Talk with other licensees out there. Again, like Bob. I don't have Bob's picture on here, but you can see that we have more people than just these folks that are right here. And one of them is including Bob. Obviously, we want you to sign up and do a live demo with your business coach here. What that'll do, it'll kind of prep you to know what to expect when you're doing a demonstration between you and your doctor, how we kind of answer the questions we go through that with. And whether or not they ever use iClaim, it doesn't matter. We're here to help you get your first client, even if you have to use their system for a little bit of time. Remember, excuse me, any billing system that's out there, it's almost all the same. Now, ours does have some advantages. Many times it's less expensive than what the other doctors are using currently. But sometimes it takes a little, because the doctors still need to build a little trust with those doctors before they just kind of throw everything to the wind, like their billing company or whoever they had doing billing. All of a sudden now they're switching systems too. You got to be flexible, work with them. We're going to teach you. We're going to be there with you. Get the purchase agreement. That's a downloadable. I think you can get a link to it. Just ask your business coach for it. I know this is kind of a little bit of an old slide here. I think it's up at 5 pages long, and that's one-sided. So it's not like any of the franchise documents that you may see in this big old stack of paper and everything like that. Very straightforward. As a matter of fact, on the first page, if you can barely see it, it's right about here. It's the number I think it's 5.00 about the refund policy. That's all right there. You need to read it over. If you want to get it to an attorney or a CPA or some paralegal and make sure that you got all your T's crossed and all your I's dotted, please do that. Feel free to do that. And then get your funding in. Get that going. We can get your training started as early as next week. We've got schedules open to be able to do that. It doesn't mean that we're just not doing them right now. We can work those in. And so we can get you started as early, obviously, as next week. So again, these are the 6 steps that you need to work on. I'm here, Adam's here, your business coach is here. We'll be here. Somebody will be here next Wednesday to do a webinar for you. But I would encourage you to get back out there and talk with other business owners like Bob out there and see how we can help you. So hopefully today's been a wonderful, refreshing type of webinar. When Bob popped on there and I looked at it, I knew immediately that this hour was going to blow by. And I tell you, it really has gone by very, very quickly. So hopefully you enjoy these and that they're not just a bore. I know that we live in this world of TikTok and, man, to sit here and watch a video for an hour, a webinar as long as you have, that takes a lot of patience, and it shows that you're doing a lot of due diligence. So I appreciate that. So appreciate everybody being here. Again, this webinar will be ready to see in the next day or so. So if you want to take a look at that. And so I appreciate you being here this afternoon. I wish everybody have a well evening, a great end of your week. Have a great weekend coming up, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.